All right, everyone, welcome back to the Woman's Struggle to Experience radio show for Saturday, April 13th, 2023. Sorry about that. We have a guest coming on. She is a licensed therapist in Michigan, New Jersey, Vermont. She has over 10 years experience working in the mental health field. Her specialty is working with women who are experiencing stress, anxiety, and PTSD. She utilizes traditional talk therapy and fusion of evidence-based holistic care to promote emotional wellness and whole body wellness. Her goal is to educate others to actually prevent burnout before it is overwhelming for the body and mind. So let's welcome our first guest, Miss Reynelda Jones.
Hello, thank you.
Was that good? Was that good enough? All right, good induction for you. How are you?
I'm good. How are you doing?
Good. How was your week?
It's been pretty busy this week, but I had last week off, so I'm catching up on a lot of stuff.
Yeah, me too. I was off last week as well on spring break, so there's been a lot of catching up, trying a lot of changes, a lot of planning, a lot of adjusting,
Yeah,
things like that. So, but but in the day, this is what we were called to do. We gotta be flexible. We gotta be patient and learn how to take a deep breath. Know that's gonna be all right. It's gonna
that's
be okay.
right. That's right.
Yeah. So, before we'll dive into it. Um, who was Benelda growing up?
Who was Reynelda growing up? Well, I like to think that I was a quiet kid, but my family told me I did talk a lot when I'm comfortable with people. So I'm still that type of person. But growing up, I've always wanted to learn about why people do what they do. I also was very interested in ancient history. So found myself digging up yards. Like, McDonald's used to have like little shovels where you can dig things up if you got a kid's meal or something like that. And so I would just dig the yard up. There's all kind of holes in my yard looking for like ancient artifacts. Of course, at the time I was a kid, I didn't know that term. I ended up finding some cat poo in one spot. So I just stopped digging on together. But that led me to going to school to learn about the human body. So I actually got an undergraduate degree in anthropology, so I could learn about people, culture, and that played on like how each culture is working and economically or just like politically. Also the human body and how that functions. Um, and then after that, I came out of school and couldn't really find the job I was looking for where I was at. So I ended up going back to school because I was already volunteering for um, Hurricane Katrina. Um,
Mm.
Many people historically know that Hurricane Katrina was very devastating in the New Orleans, Louisiana area. And many people actually came up here to Michigan. And as a response, you know, um, what was it? A lot of churches and a lot of other organizations were like trying to get products for people, clothes for people, houses for people. So I was volunteering doing that. And my family said, hey, you're doing a lot of things and social work kind of needs more people like you. Why don't you look into it? And so that's how I ended up having a master's in social work and a bachelor's in anthropology, and then incorporating all of those things into my current position at my practice. Long story short, sorry.
So it's all right. So you was born and raised in Michigan.
Yep, born and raised in Michigan. And I had promised myself when I graduate that I would stay for maybe 1 or 2 years to help my community. And I just happened to stay because I built so many connections. I already had connections being here, but I also saw a lot of issues that needed to be addressed while living here. And so I just stayed. So I'm here in Michigan physically, and then I'm licensed. Since the pandemic started, I'm licensed in New Jersey and Vermont.
So how you were able to get certification in Vermont and New Jersey, even though you don't live there currently? Do you have to take a
Yeah.
test or exams?
When I first when the pandemic first started, these were some of the states that had the easiest way to be licensed. So
Mm.
you didn't have to take an exam. They may have changed that over the course of the pandemic, but they needed many therapists to come and help out. I can't physically be everywhere, so I applied um, to be able to help whoever I could, the overflow. People were losing family members from the early stages of the pandemic, and maybe even some now. And then also there were adjustments, having to work at different locations, having to deal with family that they didn't necessarily have to deal with when they were working outside of the home. And so that was how I was able to access that.
Right, exactly. Because I think that at that time when the pandemic happened, the mental health became really at the forefront of everyone's mindset because a lot of people had to, all of us had to adjust, whether it's working from home, losing your job, actually dealing with your loved ones at home more often than you should used to be doing. So, and learn how actually had to have conversations, had to be around one another, actually had to find out who you are as a person. Am I doing the work that you I was born to do? You know, I had a lot of self examination, self realization at the time. So, and I think
Absolutely.
me and you are on the same page about mental health because I feel like mental health is the number one issue in our country, in our world, because it affects everything you do, whether it's
Hmm.
financially, whether it's professionally, whether it's socially, whether it's mentally. It affects everything you do. It based on your mindset, how you deal with the life experiences that you occurred growing up, and how that relates to what you're doing today. And I saw in your bio as well, you work with your specialty is in women. They dealing with stress and burnout. Why that particular category?
Well, since I've been in this field, that's who actually has been led to work with me. And so, I mean, I work with everyone. I have clients who are identified as male or non-binary, but who specifically tends to find me, and I feel is also spiritually led to work with me, are women. Now, I started my practice because I actually was under quite a bit of stress working at a job that was very micromanaged. Um,
Mm.
and it really had me like in a box with my skills. Like I couldn't, I'm very like creative minded. I like to address things the way every client is different. Even though it might be CBT, cognitive behavioral therapy, it may be a different approach for them. And some places I worked at was just like, no, it had to be straight and narrow, and it just didn't align with who I am. And so it actually caused me a lot of stress and a lot of health conditions along the way. And so after I was able
Mm.
to recover and get connected to additional resources to help me, including holistic professionals, I was like, you know what? There has to be other women or other people going through similar things. Maybe they're just trying to push through it. Maybe they don't even know what they're experiencing. Maybe things that they've experienced is leading to them to not be able to say no, leading them to actually increase their stress levels because they want to do everything too. And so that's how I ended up having my practice, which specialized in that particular category.
Right. You say just say you just talk about holistic approach. What does that entail?
Okay, so I'm not necessarily a holistic coach, but I am a therapist that am certified in integrative wellness. So, holistic practices, for one, is not new, even though it's considered progressive. It has always been with us for centuries, especially for many people of color. It's basically things that they were already probably incorporating for much of their culture. But for my practice, I am able to, if clients are open to it, We explore nutrition and how that applies to their mental health and overall wellness. I also provide acupuncture sessions. It's acupunctures in the ear. I don't do the whole body, but acupuncture sessions in the ear. And I also help explore how their environment plays in their life as well. So environment could be like how the lighting is in their home or how things are decor is set up, but it also can be who's in your environment. How does that play a part of your space? In the summertime, I do have a garden plot that since we talk about nutrition, clients who are local can actually come and engage in therapy in the garden. We actually do gardening. It's not the pretty stuff sitting in with flowers. Um, we're actually digging up dirt, we're planting things, and whoever comes and helps out can actually obtain some of the produce that grows there. And if they want to keep it for their family or for their community, they can.
And I know as they say gardening, you say digging up. That goes back to what you're doing as a child, digging up stuff. So it kind of ties in what the kind of connection. And also, I've
Yeah.
seen that gardening is very therapeutic. You know, so a lot of ways in terms of getting people to relax and cultivate something inside the ground. You know, that's something. And seeing the manifestation of that, and I think it's
Hmm.
so important to grow and things like that. So my question to you is, I know you do therapy, things like that, but do you have a therapist? Because I know you do a lot, and like, that could be overwhelming. Because that's a lot of clients you deal with,
Yeah.
especially for different states. Do you have a therapist that you can talk to? Get your because you do a lot of things coming, verbiage and stories and situations. So do you have someone you could talk to? When you're
So,
not
yeah.
talking to someone?
So currently, I don't have a therapist, but I have over the course of my career, including like last year, I did have a therapist, and I can always come back to this therapist. He knows my history. Um, he welcomes me back anytime. Right now, I feel like I'm in a pretty good space. A lot of the things that I do with my clients are actually my form of self care that I'm actually sharing with them, and they're contributing to their life. So, but I do make sure that I implement a lot of things that I've worked on with my own therapist, like making sure I have time and space in my schedule where I'm not taking clients and doing things that I love or just do or not doing anything at all. And then making sure that I, speak up if I feel like, something is not in alignment with me or even having a better way of communicating a compromise. So the things that I work on with have worked on with that therapist, and I've worked on it repeatedly. And like I said, I'm always welcome back to come back with this therapist. He's really great. So at the present moment, no, but I do have one that's available to me, and he's
Right.
great.
Yeah. Yes. I think that's very good too. That's that someone to that you rely upon and count on just to talk to with things like that. So, for those who, it's a question I want to ask for those who are aspiring to be therapists and serve our community, especially men or women, depends on your preference and your purpose. What is what is the biggest joy about being a therapist, and what is the biggest challenge of being a therapist?
Well, I'll start with the challenge because I like to end on a positive note with things like that. But the biggest challenge is that um, there's a couple of them. I think, first of all, you kind of get into this field hoping that you can really make changes and always see changes, and that you're helping everyone. But the challenge is that you may not always see changes right away, and that kind of goes back to the garden. You can plant seeds, you might not see the growth right away. you know, you might find out years later or days later that you were helpful for this person. Sometimes you help a person or believe you're helping a person, and they're not ready for it, and so they may discontinue meeting with you, or they may behave in a way that's not always showing that you have helped them, but you have planted a seed in some capacity. So that's something to remember. Um, the most rewarding thing is that knowing that you have made a difference at the end of the day, you know, you don't always know how that plays out, but that you have helped someone, you've done the best to your capacity. Because for me, and I have a spiritual belief, like whatever I do with my clients is what I'm meant or led to do that day with them, is something that they either needed to hear or needed to work on. And hopefully they take that seed and it expands some type of way in their future, whether they're with me or not.
Right. Exactly. So, and I also I read your bio. Also, you work with people with PTSD. A lot of times, we have grown to learn more about PTSD over the years. We always categorized it with being a war and things like that. But now it's changed. Now it could be basically a shooting, basically a relationship, um, um, or fallout. You know, that may call PTSD, may call you stress, and and you're not able to function correctly. So how do you deal with clients with that, and what is some advice about how to deal with people, those who are not therapists, maybe or friendships and like that, how to have those conversations with PTSD and how to navigate around that, how to give them advice and things like that.
Yeah. So I work with clients with PTSD just the same way I work with the other clients. So I'm not certified at EMDR. I do have clients who do connect with EMDR therapists, but I also know, again, it goes back to nutrition and a lot of the other things. And the reason why I'm bringing up nutrition is because there's been research that shows, like, depending on the person's gut health, they're more likely to develop PTSD or not, depending on experiences. Because that's all connected to the brain and the messaging that our body sends itself. So one thing I do is work on really learning how to ground themselves to make sure that they know that they are present and they are safe. The other thing I do is provide ear acupuncture sessions, and this really does help with like relaxing the body and also becoming more in tune with yourself. Um, and it can also help with some grief too. So releasing some of the grief that you've experienced that comes with anything that's traumatic, maybe a loss of sense of safety, a loss of sense of of knowing. And some of these sessions that I'm doing, if I do ear acupuncture or even gardening, I don't always have to talk in those sessions. PTSD um, is not always worked well on when talking about it. So some of these things are things that I can do or have the client do, and you don't necessarily have to talk about the trauma, but you are working on spaces in your trauma. Now, when I'm talking about ear acupuncture, if you are a person that believes that there's other energy fields or other spiritual levels, ear acupuncture or any type of acupuncture actually supposed to incorporate those aspects too, whether we know them or conscious or about them or not. And so for some of my clients, they do have a belief of a higher power. And so they do believe, like, okay, when I am addressing this, I am working on other levels of myself. So for some of my clients, they're sleeping better. They're not having nightmares. Maybe they had cravings for alcohol or other substances, and that has reduced greatly just from ear acupuncture or even doing some of the gardening work.
That's right. And I saw on your website that you are an author as well. That you wrote a book called "Worthy of Reality." I'm not looking to the wrong.
Worthy of royalty.
Royalty.
Yeah.
And I saw that you saw create some self care cards regarding that. What made you decide to write a book?
Well, the book is actually a planner, so people can. I don't have the book present, but I do have a pack of this Worthy Royalty self care cards, so you can see them. Hold on.
Mm.
Okay, and the book actually matches this. I'm actually going to be at a vending booth today. If you are in Grand Rapids, Michigan, at Ashley Furniture Store, where you can meet me and actually see these cards hands on and the planners because they'll be there. But the book was made first, and it was made because, again, I work with a lot of women that might be kind of similar to myself. There was a point where I would do things for myself or just do things like, let's say I had a goal, I would do a goal, and then I would just kind of surpass the goal, and then I wouldn't, be too happy about it, or I felt like I didn't do enough, or did I do it right? And so I developed a planner where you could actually go back, you write in the date, and you could go back and see all the things that you did. And I meet a lot of women, especially women who are go-getters. They're very independent, and they feel that they're not doing enough. And so when we get down to it and we sit down and write, what are some things that you did for yourself today? Was there a time that you said no? Was there a time where you worked on your fingernails? Is there a time that you worked on something that's more than the external things, right? Like, did you go to counseling? Did you have to cancel counseling? Because that could be self-care for somebody. Not that they're canceling all the time. So, but so we write those down, and then when they have like a couple days worth, they can go back and see that they have self-care. Other parts of the pages are coloring pages where they can just color however they want, just to be grounded, just to ease their mind. And then there's other pages that have questions like, what did you do for this week for your self-care? Out of these top 3 self-care options, which one was the best? How did it help you? And sometimes we need to be reminded about when we do something, how it helps us, especially when we're in an emotional, distressful state. It makes it hard for us to think about, let's do this activity because it helped me, because it calmed me down. We usually like, no, there's no use in doing it. But instead they can go back, it's in writing. You can't argue with what you wrote and then say, okay, I can go back and practice this self-care tool because I know it helps me. It helps me to calm down. It helps me to communicate better. It helps me to feel more at ease. It helps me to feel like I'm more safe in my body. Those are different things. So there's a lot that's involved in that book. But a lot of people love it, especially they love it also because it's a conversation piece. It's beautiful. The cover is beautiful. So
Right, and I think you did an excellent job with the cover and the cards as well, because I
thank
believe
you.
that self care is every single day, because you
Yeah.
can't wait till a certain day of the week to do self care, because on the day that self care may come, you might do one ABCD. You know, you don't want time for
Hmm.
that. So I implore child's people to just take to self care every day. Maybe sit in the car, maybe taking a nap, maybe go for a walk. Think it
Yeah.
don't be 3 hours. It could be 30 minutes. Just self care every day.
Yeah.
Just keep your mind at ease, because a lot of times we so high energy, we burn out. We taking out our friends, our partners, our loved ones, and we don't know how the time to calm down and get us in a relaxed state. I
Yeah.
think we get so much more done when you actually in relaxed states, so you can be better for yourself, because self care is about doing the things that make you feel good about yourself, make you feel better. And sometimes we're so high on energy, we trying to burn out so quickly, and we don't know how to replenish and don't know how to say no. You know what I mean? It's okay to stay in the house. You don't have to go every time. You don't have to be a yes person. You can say
Yeah.
no. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? You can say no. Say, look, hey,
Yeah.
I want to watch TV. I want to catch on movies or play video games. And that's okay. A lot of time
Yeah.
you don't worry about what people think. In the day, that is your self care, not for
Yeah.
someone else. For your self care, how you can wind down, be in your most relaxed state, so you can be more productive the next time. So going
Yeah.
forward, so always go off 100, then you be on fumes, and then you will be having no time to replenish yourself. Then you won't be good for anyone else. So
Yeah. And the cards, the planner has 25 self-care ideas in case you can't think of any. The cards have 50 plus self-care ideas. And you don't even have to take a whole 15 minutes. I have people that say, well, I don't have a whole hour to do it. You don't need an hour. You only need some time. And usually it's things that doesn't cost a lot, or it doesn't cost anything. It might be something you're already doing, but there's one that says, like, on your drive home from work, take a different route, just so you can see the changes in the view, what's all around you, things like that. Um, let's see. There's also techniques like breathing techniques that you can try. I don't know if you can see it.
Yes.
That's way of breathing. Um, this one is about finances. So it says watch a video or read about financial abundance or even budgeting. So there's things that helps you in different aspects of your life other than getting a manicure and pedicure. And those are great,
Mhm.
but there's more to us than just our nails, you know. So
All right, that's good. So I have another guest coming on, so I'm gonna try to wrap this up. This has been really great. Question, a couple of questions. What's next for you?
what is next for me?
Hmm?
Well, I'm currently working on a women's summit for next year. Say the date, March 2024. It's going to be here in Grand Rapids. And I'm going to have different speakers from different types of healthcare. So, mental health, physical health, some people that do Reiki, other people that do like womb care. There's all kind of different health things. And then a lot of times people don't even know holistic providers out here. Because they're not really advertised in a way that medical doctors are. So knowing what resources are available. And so make sure to stay tuned for that. I'm actually looking for speakers. So I will be putting out soon speakers wanted. So if you have a topic that helps women in care or financial wealth, whatever, contact me.
Okay, I might know a few people so that I can so that's gonna be in person or can they participate virtually? And it's I want to speak at the
So
conference.
right now I'm working on setting up as both.
Okay,
There's gonna be a afterglow event too, and this nice greenhouse. It's a greenhouse, all like with plants. So I want it to be nice. That's all I can say. And then May 4th, I will be speaking virtually. This is a virtual conference called Clinician Fest, and I will be speaking about nutrition, mental health, and food injustice. Because although nutrition is important, many of us do not have access to proper nutrition because of our neighborhoods and how they're set up. So that's one of the things I'll be talking about May 4th.
all right. So you said besides doing this work you're doing as part of self care, what else does Reynelda do for self care?
So I like to sing and I love music. So I write. I'm a creative person. My brain just works differently sometimes because I'm creative. But I also like spending time with family and cooking with my family, or even just cooking for myself can also be very peaceful. Um, Today is pretty sunny out, so I'm gonna go for a walk before this vending booth situation that I'll be at. Uh, so I'll go for a walk because I've been sitting a lot today. Just making sure I get some fresh air. Um, you know, and make sure I connect with people that care about me and that I care about and see how they're doing. That's also self care, nurturing relationships too.
That's right, nurturing healthy relationships.
Hmm.
So, what words of advice would you give to the younger Reynelda?
Uh, I would give myself like just keep going because the vision is bigger than you really know. I never would have imagined where I'm at now, and I can't even imagine where I'm going to be next. But it's huge if I'm doing a summit. So
That's right.
that's
That's
what
right.
I would do.
You got to be live into it. It's going to manifest what happened. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Like I was speaking about, like, like for the event, speak about what would you get, what would you get, what would you want to get from it if you were going to it? You know what I mean? What do I see myself in this conference? What did I vision? What I got? Like, am I going to be a different person that I came to this conference? Am I going to leave some ideas? Or am I going to be transformed? Am I going to be enlightened? Am I going to take the next step to my greatness? So,
Hmm.
and then my last question is, where people can find more information about you, your books, your conferences, and also, are you taking clients right now? And do they have to be in those areas like Michigan, Vermont, or Jersey, or they can do virtual appointments?
Okay, so clients for me had to be in either, because I'm licensed only in these states, Michigan, Vermont, or New Jersey. I do have a therapist who works in the evenings on Tuesday, Thursday. She's only licensed in Michigan, and she actually works on like mental health and spiritual health, or even if there's some spiritual or religious trauma that a person's experienced.
Mm.
So I try to include every aspect of a person in here. But she's Michigan only, and she's virtual. Um, and then you had several questions. So what's the next question?
Oh, where people can find more information about you and your services and your books.
Okay, you can find more information about me at my website, www.asolutionb.com. There's also a link on there that says shop products, so you can look at all the books. Right now, I have some limited edition products that are on sale only for this month because it's my birthday month and my business birthday month. So
Oh, happy
we're,
birthday to
we're
you.
double celebrating. Thank you. And then I also have a blog on there. You can read blogs from different guest experts who are mental health providers or holistic providers. And I also have there's YouTube videos connected to the blogs too. So I talk about holistic health. I talk about mental health in general. There's even some meditations that you can check up on there as well. So I have a lot out there. If you look up my name, because there's not too many with it, you will find me.
And you are doing an excellent job at what you do, and we thank you
Thank
for
you.
what you're doing for women in general in the community through your gifts and through your purpose. And we
Thank you.
definitely at Women's Straw to Experience Show appreciate that because we follow up with people who are living on purpose and doing what they were born and created to do to serve the world, and serve people and not ourselves. So, Reynelda Jones, thank you so much for being part of our show. Hope we connect soon because I feel like mental health is so important and that we is essential in our community. So thank you so much. I wish you best of luck today. Your branding event today, and,
Thank you.
and also enjoy your happy birthday as well.
Thank you. Thank you. Thanks
Have a
for
good
having
one.
me.
You're welcome. Have a good one.
You too. Bye.